I'm delighted to be joined by Anton Ferdinand. The soccer tournament is coming up, 7 versus 7 in North Carolina, taking on teams like Borussia Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, #United. How excited are you for this one?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I'm going in a different capacity than I did the last time we went to the TST tournament. I'm going more as a player coach this time, but I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, the tournament itself is fantastic to be a part of. I think for us as a football club, where we're growing our fan base in the likes of the USA and further afield, tournaments like this are really important.
Yeah, they absolutely are. You touched on growing the West Ham profile in the United States. I know you've just been in New Jersey, so tell me a little bit about what that experience was like.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic going to New Jersey and going to visit the fan base that we've got over there. The West Ham fan group over there was probably one of the best that I've seen. You know, in terms of one being abroad, sitting down and talking with a few of the members that were there. And getting their intake on what it is. And by the way, them actually being like really American, but understanding the culture of the football club. Because when you speak to a lot of other fans and other clubs, when they talk about American fan bases, some of them just don't get it. But the fan base that we've got in America, you know, is a fan base that really gets the ethos of our football club and embrace everything West Ham, which was really refreshing.
Definitely. And I imagine these fans are going to be very excited to see you guys playing out there. Talk to me a little bit about who's in the team. I know you've even got a famous actor involved in this.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of seven-a-side players that are going to be playing in the team, and we've got a massive personality from India who's going to be playing in our team, and this is the way the world's going, you know, social media based and stuff like that. So having people putting on a West Ham shirt who understand why they're wearing a West Ham shirt and the meaning behind the West Ham shirt and the fan base and the club as a whole, you know, especially with Hero, famous actor Hero, who came TST last time he played there, and you see somebody that's been in Harry Potter become like a little kid around some of his heroes was really good to see, you know, and that epitomized what the club means to him. You know, he was going, oh, I can't believe this is one of the best days of my life. And I'm going, by the way, you're in one of the biggest grossing, if not the biggest grossing film in history with Harry Potter. Like one of the most famous things that you could ever be a part of. He went, yeah, but Anton, it's just West Ham. This is West Ham. I'm actually getting to be on the pitch with players that I grew up watching, you know, like yourself and others. So to see that happen to him and see the impact of the club that I love and support and played for on somebody else was really nice to see.
Well, yeah, that's an amazing story. And you touched on the social media impact there. And we've got things like the Bowler League that are growing with care and stuff like that. What do you make of these types of things and his particular involvement in sport?
I think that they're a breath of fresh air, if I'm being honest. I think, as we know, the Ballers League and other leagues around the world that they have, it's so football is becoming more social media driven. It's becoming more around the younger generation, and to grow your fan base and to be ahead of the curve of the next generation that's coming through, you have to tap into other areas of media, and West Ham are doing that. Hence why we're going to TST tournament, because this is going to be viewed and shown on YouTube worldwide, but also the newer generation. It's just how they like to watch sports now is this way, you know, and to grow your fan base like we're trying to do and like we are doing, you have to tap into other parts of media.
100%. And now I want to take a moment to look back at some of your best memories. Obviously, growing up around Rio Ferdinand must have been amazing. I know you played together in Mark Noble's testimonial game, and I know you also scored against him. So what were those two moments like?
Yeah, they were fantastic. I mean, growing up in his shadow was difficult. I had to make sure that I was ready for any chance that I got, because I knew I'd only get one because I was his brother, and people would watch me for 10 minutes, and if I didn't do something I like and me to him, then I was rubbish in their eyes. So I had to be ready to hit the ground running whenever I got an opportunity. Playing with him in Mark Noble's testimony and Tony Carr's testimony, in that period of time, I was only on the pitch for him probably 25, 30 minutes around both of them. And if I'm being honest, I probably learnt more in them 25, 30 minutes than I did all throughout my career, playing with senior players. Just the way that he spoke, the information that he gave, how clear it was, how precise it was, was something that I'd never really experienced in a game. He gave me it off the pitch, but actually hearing it whilst in a game was fantastic, and scoring against him, that brotherly rivalry it's still there, and in the summer series, you're going to see that because we play Manchester United over in the series in New Jersey, and I believe he's going to be coming over to watch that game. So stay tuned through West Ham channels, because there will probably be something going out between me and him. The rivalry's still there, but there's one thing that he can say, that he's won more than me. Obviously he's had an illustrious career, but what he can't say is that he scored a goal against me, but I can say that. And don't worry, that picture's up in my house, and I take things around his house whenever I can. So it's there.
Yeah, you'll always have the bragging rights. And something else I wanted to touch on, which I thought was fantastic for you. There was a moment in the locker room with Roy Keane where he was almost able to play on your psychology and really channel into your mindset to inspire you to put in one of your best performances. Can you tell me a little bit about that moment?
Yeah, I mean, we was playing away at Blackburn, and we'd come in 1-0 down, and he had wrote us the right act, the whole team. I won't say what he was saying. And then all of a sudden, he just before the buzzer went, after giving us a grilling, I actually didn't agree with him, and I spoke up, and he was like, I knew he was going to say something. But then after he grilled us again, he then went, who's going to show me that they've got like personality to go out onto the pitch and grab this game by the scruff of the neck and win this game for us? And he looked at me, and we all know, and he went, we all know you ain't, because you ain't got no personality, you, Anton. But he didn't say personality, it was another word, obviously. And it just hit a nerve with me, and it really, really triggered me in a good way, where in the tunnel I turned and said to the lads, let's prove him wrong. We went out there, I think Jibril Cisse scored after half time. And then we scored again, and then I blocked one off the line in the last few minutes. And I just remember after the final whistle went and we won the game, I was like really, really amped up. He said, I've got no personality. And I was like, flipping, have that. And I went steaming into the dressing room to confront him, to go like, what, no personality, Gaffer, or what? And he was standing at the tunnel with his hand up, standing at the door, the changing room door with his hand out, ready to shake my hand. As I come in, he shook my hand, pulled me in, gave me a shoulder barge, and said into my ear, I knew he was going to win that fucking game. And then he started giggling, and that was the end of it. And it was, when I look back, it was fantastic management, because he triggered me to maybe have a positive impact on the rest of the team, because he knew that I would be vocal about it, and that to me is fantastic leadership and managerial.
Yeah, 100%. And after him, Ricky Spragier came in, and I believe you went on his stag do. So what was that trip like? You must have some memories from that.
Yeah, it wasn't his official stag do. We had a mid-season break in Seville that ended up being like his stag do, who was our manager at the time. But yeah, it was more about galvanising the team who was in a relegation battle. And so one thing that I am proud of in my career is I've been involved in a few relegation battles, but I've never ever been relegated in my career. I've always managed to beat it, and a lot of my learnings throughout the years, especially at West Ham, was togetherness, galvanising a team, making sure we feel like a band of brothers, that anything outside of the dressing room is just noise. And Ricky Spragier's stag do definitely done that for us. It galvanised us, and we ended up going on a run and kept us in the Premier League.
Yeah, and one of your best partnerships was with Wes Brown. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that, because I know there's some big games you guys played in. I think, in particular, Luis Suarez was a player you had to deal with.
Yeah. I think Wes Brown was one of the first players, and we're talking, what are we talking? Maybe 7, 8 years into my footballing career, where I was finally playing with somebody who I knew was better than me and had won so much more than me. Not that he'd done more, and it wasn't the case because I played with players that done more in their career than I did, but I was really confident in myself, and it was the first time I was playing against somebody that I had to prove I was better than them. And because I was so used to having to prove people wrong with Rio, it almost lit a fire in my belly again. And I had a fantastic time with Wes Brown. And so we played in some big games. We went to Anfield first game of the season and done really well there. Played against Suarez and Andy Carroll and kept them quiet. The time with Derby, done really well there, but it just wasn't meant to be. Stuff happened with me and Steve Bruce, and I was shipped off later on in that month.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about some of your memories there, and there's definitely some incredible ones. What do you think is the craziest story you have in your entire career?
The craziest story that I have in my entire career, cool. That's a hard question, that. Crazy story. There's nothing that's probably all right to say on a podcast. But in terms of, I think it was surreal watching Tevez and Mascherano come into the building at West Ham.
Mm.
That was a crazy moment. It was quite surreal. Obviously coming into the building and it's like, well, how have we got them? But also the way that it was surreal seeing how the level of training went up instantly, and the lads wanted to show, and certainly for me, I can speak for myself, I wanted to show these guys how good of a player I was, and the level of training went up like drastically. But it was just a surreal moment how they just walked into the training ground, couldn't speak a word of English. Had an interpreter. His name was Kieran, who was always with them, and also that again epitomises the football club. But Kieran became part of the family, even though he was in there doing a job, was only there to translate for Carlitos and Javier. He was embraced and was part of the family. I always knew when Carlos had been in the casino, had been out of a night time. It was never through Carlos's. It was never looking at Carlos. It was always through looking at Kieran, because Kieran had matchsticks in his eyes, but Carlos looked right as rain.
Absolutely. Anton, thank you so much for giving me some time. I really appreciate it. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you would like to mention?
Obviously, the why we're trying to grow the fan base over in America, but also the summer series tour is going to be a really, really good one. Like the fact that me and Rio potentially are going to do stuff. Rio mentioned in his podcast that I done with him the other day that he addressed because a lot of West Ham fans who think that he's turned his back on us as a football club, but he addressed that a little bit in the podcast that we've done, but he's going to address it properly in America. And stay tuned to us doing something over in the tour this year.